Episode 17, Ignorant Little Engine. Early one morning, the Fat Controller came to Tigger's sheds.
Good morning, Thomas. I have big news. We are adding a passenger train to one of the branch lines. And because you've been doing such a good job lately, we want you to pull the new train once a day.
A new train. Thomas felt very proud. There would be new tracks to ride on, a new platform to stop at, and a new station house to see. All for Thomas.
Now, of course, there will be more passengers and even more work.
Oh, don't worry, sir. I can do it. It'll be easy.
All of Thomas's friends weren't so sure and thought he was being too overconfident. Edward the Blue Engine quickly spoke up.
You must go slowly at first, Thomas. You must listen to your crew and be careful not to get lost.
Thomas was too excited to pay attention to old Edward. He just puffed up steam in a vain fashion.
Oh, quit your worrying, Edward. You might have trouble with new tracks, but not me. I'm a really useful engine. That's why I'm getting another station.
Nice face!
Edward just rolled his eyes with annoyance. He and the others were all very fond of Thomas, but when the little tank engine gets cocky, he becomes very difficult. The new passenger train will start running the very next day. Thomas really wanted to look his best, so that afternoon he was carefully washed down by the workmen. Then he had a bright paint job, which sparkled and shone in the morning sunlight.
Now I look shiny and new. I look just the way a really useful engine should.
The other engines, very fed up at Thomas's bragging, just ignored him and puffed off to do their work.
Pooh, they're just jealous that I, the really useful and reliable #1 engine, was chosen to pull the new train on the new branch line.
Never mind that. You just remember to listen carefully to us, Thomas, otherwise it'll all end badly. Don't let your pride get the better of you.
But yet again, Thomas wasn't paying any attention. He was picturing himself arriving at the new station and being cheered to the echo. The driver and fireman both knew too well that their engine's pride sometimes would get the better of him. So they decided they would have to be very firm with him. Once Thomas's paint had been well dried and thoroughly polished the next day, he buffered up to Annie and Clarabel and set off for the new line. Edward puffed alongside as he set off for Wellsbridge.
Remember, Thomas, follow the signs and listen carefully to your crew. It's easy to get lost when you don't know the route.
Yeah, I heard you the first time, Edward.
At the point, the driver switched Thomas over the other line, and with that, the journey began. He had just gotten onto the new line when suddenly, without warning, he started to speed up.
I'll get to my destination in no time.
Hey, what are you doing, Thomas? Slow down! You're going too fast. We won't be able to read the signs at this speed.
Edward watched from a distance.
Oh dear. Thomas is going to end up losing his way and in deep trouble.
And so, the old engine puffed away to find the other engines. Meanwhile, Thomas was puffing along through the countryside, still going too fast. He was having the greatest time of his life.
Come on, Thomas. Where are we even going? You know you're not used to going on this new branch line, so slow down!
But still, Thomas was hardly listening and carried on. He raced through junctions, past houses and by fields, where he saw plenty of cows, who moved with surprise as he rattled past. Poor Annie and Clarabel were not enjoying the fast ride one bit. "Thomas, please stop! My poor aching axles! I don't know how much longer they can go on like this." "Nor do I, Clarabel. Nor do I."
Oh, come on, you two. Where's your sense of adventure? This is so fun!
The driver and fireman tried everything they could to slow Thomas down, but he wouldn't respond to their controls. Soon, though, he started to slow down at last, thinking he was getting close to the station, but he actually wasn't. He found himself puffing along beside a lonely field of tall grass.
Oh sure, now you decide to slow down.
Thomas looked around, but nothing looked familiar at all. He puffed slowly forward and past the tall grass, but still nothing looked familiar. Oh, this is just perfect. Now look what you've done. You've gotten us all lost, Thomas. Now, Thomas was regretting his decision to go fast and didn't feel like a really useful engine anymore. Are you crying, Thomas?
What? No, I'm not. This stupid smoke's getting in my eyes.
Thomas! Is that you?
That sounds like the Fat Controller.
Sure enough, in the distance, Thomas and his crew could see the Fat Controller on a handcar coming into view.
I saw your smoke, Thomas. Whatever are you doing out here? The station is just down the line.
It is really, sir.
Of course it is. Move along now. Everything is ready and waiting for you.
Thomas perked up at once and puffed on towards the new station. He was cheered to the echo when he finally pulled in. Just as he daydreamed from earlier, he puffed through a red ribbon, and the Fat Controller announced that the new station will be open for business. Then he sternly turned to Thomas, along with an angry driver and fireman.
Thomas, I just got a call from Edward's crew that you decided to not listen to your driver or fireman. You were told you could get lost along a new route if you were not paying attention. Not only have you been impudent and conceited, you have been very, very ignorant.
I know now, sir. And I'm sorry.
Later that night, Thomas crawled into the sheds alongside Edward.
Oh, well look who it is. The really useful, quotation marks, but ignorant and overconfident engine.
I know I've been ignorant and overconfident, Edward. And I'm sorry. I should have been more careful and not let my own pride get the better of me. I shouldn't have even get myself lost in the first place.
Well, we all make mistakes, Thomas, and I forgive you. But I do hope that today's events will at least teach you an important lesson.
After that day, Thomas did learn his lesson, and now travelled along any line without speeding. The other engines would occasionally keep teasing him about letting his cocky attitude get himself lost, until they eventually stopped. Thomas may still show off and brag about his superiority, mainly because he's always that sort of engine, but he's never afraid to stop and ask for help, especially along a line he's never been on before.